first. Audio coming at you. Killing mics for the moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, as part of the Jeremiah Show, welcome to It's Radio with TV's Tim Stack. Now here's the host of the show, a man who might have slept with Ginger from Gilligan's Island, but got so nervous when she hit on him, he literally ran away. It's TV's Tim Stack. All right. Thank you. Back for episode 2 of the dynasty of It's Radio with TV's Tim Stack. I'm going to quickly tell that story about Tina Louise from Gilligan's Island. You know, every guy always was like, you know, Ginger or Marianne, which one's it going to be? It was never Mrs. Howe, although now I'm with Mrs. Howe. When I look at that show now, those girls are too young. Mrs. Howe, wow, she's looking pretty good. But Ginger, I was on this show that are my guest today. We'll get to him, but another guy from the Groundlings, Phil Hartman, was also, he did a few episodes of this show. It was called Our Time, and it was 1985, and it was a really bad NBC variety show that Johnny Carson's company produced. And what the show was, we'll play the clip, Dr. D, and that'll tell people what the show was. This is an actual promo.
The kids of the 60s have made it to the 80s, and now it's our time. The stars you grew up with reunite in a hot new summer party. Saturday, host Karen Valentine teams up with your favorite stars for an outrageous good time. All the music you fell in love with, all the fun you'll never forget. It's Our Time, Saturdays on NBC.
Okay, so it was 1985, and I'm doing sketches with all these people that I grew up watching on television. Like Darren from Bewitched, it was Bill Dana, all these people, Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees, it's just fantastic. One after another, a revolving door of TV stars from the 50s and 60s. And Tina Louise is on the episode Ginger, and she still looks great. This is 1985, still looks great. And we're done for the day, and she said, "Hey, will you walk me to my car?" And I said, yeah, sure. And we walked to the parking lot in NBC, and we get to her car, which wasn't that great of a car. And she said, we're talking the whole time, and she said, would you like to have a drink? And I got so flustered that Ginger from Gilligan's Island was hitting on me that I couldn't respond. I just, no, I have to go. And I got in my car and I drove away. And I was also just with my wife at that point. We just hooked up. And so I was very much in love. And anyway, as I'm driving away, I'm thinking I could have been with Ginger from Gilligan's Island, and I did not. So anyway.
Yeah, your wife appreciates that.
So I'm going to tell the Tina Louise story. Anyway, that was a great, and also Phil was on that show, but also it was the first time I met Harry Anderson, was on that show. We became very good friends later on in life. Anyway, I want to quickly say that the show I worked on, Sprung, is out on Freevee now. We got great reviews, really great positive response on social media. 2 more episodes dropped this Friday on Freevee. If you can find it, it's worth it. It's a really fun show that Greg Garcia did that I got to work on. Anyway, my guest, I'm so excited that my old friend, I'm not going to tell his name yet, but he's with us. He's going to be with us. Here's a little hint of music from some of his best work.
Any life worth living isn't life just filled with ease. You just stay forgiving through the forest and the trees, and you'll go just where you want to go.
Okay, that of course was from The Brave Little Toaster. Let's have a drum roll so I can introduce our guest. Okay, there's comes the drum roll. We can do a drum roll, John. Here it goes. There's a drum roll. Okay, we know him from Saturday Night Live. A League of Their Own, Rat Race, a really underrated comedy that nobody talks about, Benchwarmers, the episodes of The Simpsons, News Radio, The Critic, and so on, all of which he really owes to me, Mr. Jon Lovitz.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Please sit down.
John, before you talk, I just want to say, I want to give you some more props here. You're appearing, you just finished at the Tropicana in Las Vegas. Was that fun for you there for a week?
Well, I've been doing that since last August. It's basically year round as much as I want to do. It's like a residency, and I just book, dates when I'm available to appear there.
That's so great.
But some standing offer to always be there. Yeah, it's great.
I
Thanks
want
for that introduction, by the way.
That introduction was fantastic.
I'll say
it's the best one you've ever gotten. You're also, I was just going coming up. You got the Irvine Improv on September 9th and 10th, the Milwaukee Improv, the October 20th, 23rd, and the Chicago Improv, November 2nd to the 12th. So you're a busy guy. Yeah.
Well, thank you. The Improv it's in Schaumburg. It's for the weekend. It's not that long a date. Maybe it's I don't know what the dates are, but it's not for 6 days. For God's sake. By the way, I that story about Tina Louise, I go, you're like, well, I turned her down because I just hooked up.
I did.
My wife. What do you mean hooked up?
Well, that's what they say now.
I love my wife.
Using a current term.
So
I hooked up with her.
Well, okay, you could love her and still be with Tina Louise. It's two separate things.
No. You've met my wife. You know that wouldn't fly.
You don't.
Even though it would have sort of been a hall.
Don't tell her. You acted like it happened in the past. Secondly, I had the same thing happen to me.
Really?
Ironically, but with Marilyn Monroe, who Tina Louise was pretending spoofing on Gilligan's Island. But I didn't know. I didn't understand what it was. Same almost conversation. You want to go get a drink
with Marilyn Monroe?
I didn't know what she said. I was 4.
Yeah, you were 4 years old. John, I do want to start. Go ahead. I want to start off with something. It's not serious, but it's very complimentary of you, because you and I go way back. Like, I think 1982 we met. I think I was trying to.
Yeah, I was taking class at the Groundlings, and you and Phil Hartman were two of my idols. I wanted to be like. I looked up to you guys.
And
sure.
But here's what I want to say to you, John, is, and I really mean this. I'm super proud of you, and not just for because I knew you way back when, and not just for your career, but also sort of your second career. You became a stand-up comic when you had never done that. That never dawned on you. And yet you've developed this second career. The way I became a writer, and most people become writers or directors and stuff, but you became a stand-up comic, and now you're super successful at it. Anyway, I would just love for you to talk a little bit about how that happened.
Well, I'll try to say briefly. I was 13. I saw Woody Allen's movie, Take the Money and Run.
Yeah.
So I became a big fan. Then I saw, when I was 16, the movie Lenny, starring Dustin Hoffman, about Lenny Bruce. And I never heard of Lenny Bruce. And the movie was great. So I went to the record store, which they don't have anymore, I wanted to buy Lenny Bruce's records to hear The Real Guy.
Yeah.
And then I saw that Woody Allen had been a stand-up, which I didn't know. And it was like Woody Allen, the nightclub years, 1964 to 68. So I bought that album too. And then I would learn their routines. I performed them in my dorm. And then right after college, I went to the Comedy Store, a workshop to learn how to be a stand-up. It was free on a Saturday.
So this is before the Groundlings?
No, yes, before the Groundlings.
I didn't know this.
Right after college, I was a drama major at UC Irvine. So I was 21. I go, and the guy teaching the workshop goes, "Oh, they're not hiring stand-ups for sitcoms. So if that's why you're being a stand-up, don't do it." And then he just said like a blank. And then I raised my hand. He goes, "Yes." I go, "But you'd think they're not hiring you?" "No." I go, "You'd think they would. You guys are funny." Yeah, well, you think they would, but they don't. And I didn't know anything, so I went,
Right.
oh, gee, I thought this would be a good way to like get into show business. So I figured, all right, I'll skip that. And went to New York for a year, nothing. And then I came back in 82. No, I took a class for the camera, Tony Barr, great, a friend of mine, Mike Sabatino from college, was doing it. He goes, well, everything in LA is on camera. So he goes, I think you need to do that. I didn't know what to do after college. I didn't have a clue.
Nobody
I
knows
did
what to
that.
do.
Yeah, I didn't know. And then, yeah, there wasn't like a studio would sign you to contract. That was all, you're on your own. So I went to New York for a year, didn't get anywhere. So I came back, and that's when I started at the Groundlings. And then after my audition for SNL, I started working on a little monologue, like a stand-up monologue. I thought maybe I'll try that again. But then I got SNL. And then when I got on there, Dennis Miller would say, oh, you could be a stand-up. And he goes, not what I do, but there's a guy named Kevin Meaney. He's really funny and silly.
Yeah.
So he took me to Catch a Rising Star to see Kevin, who was hilarious. God bless his soul. He passed away. Anyway. And then so one time I went with Dennis and I got up on stage. They go, Jon Lovitz, yay. They knew me from SNL. Then I didn't know what I was doing. So 5 minutes later, they go, Jon Lovitz. The sound of one hand clapping, I went, oh my God. Oh, this isn't like easy. They would make it look so easy. And
Your dog just looked up while you clapped.
Practice. Yeah. No. So I wanted to do it over the years, but I would get up, but I would be so nervous. It was crazy. One time I did the Aspen Comedy Festival, a midnight show, and it was all the top new comics. And the manager of the Improv knew me. He goes, John, you want to get up? I go, all right. So I did like 15 minutes that I written.
That's a lot.
And Bud Friedman ran up. You're a stand-up. You're a stand-up. I go, I don't know. When I was on Saturday Night Live, like Dana Carvey goes, you could be a stand-up. Dennis Miller was the first one. And then I befriended, or Eddie Murphy befriended me. I go, and he was the hottest in the country. I go, do you think I could be a stand-up? He's like, yes. Robin Williams would be on the show host. I go, do you think I could be a stand-up? Yes. And those were the four hottest stand-ups telling me I could do it, but I just didn't. I'd see them and I go, I don't know how they do that. Dana was like a different personality on stage. He was amazing. And Dennis was great, as was Eddie and Robin. They were just, I go, I don't know. What am I going to do? You can't do their act. You got to do your own. I go, well.
But that's sort of my point, John, is that, again, it's really commending to you that you did it. You found.
Well, you know what really happened was, why I finally did it was I got Saturday Night Live. I worked straight for 11 years, and then things slowed down and I wasn't getting any work. And so after 7 years, I said to my agent manager, I go, can you get me work? He said, I'm not broke, but I'm going to run out of money in 5 years. And they both said, well, why don't you sell your house?
That's like, nice.
What?
Were they going to take 10% of that too?
Oh, so you're moving up in the world and I'm just moving down. And I go, all right, they've given up. So I was so mad. I thought, I have a better idea. I'm going to learn how to be a stand-up.
There you go.
And I'm not going back to being broke. I go, fuck that. So I went to the Laugh Factory. Jamie Masada, my agent said, if you ever want to do stand, he always said to me I should do it. So I went to Jamie. I go, okay, I'm going to try to be a stand-up. I'd been there before. He goes, okay, buddy, you're up next. I'm like, what? He goes, come on. And my heart, if you touched it, it felt like it was like I'd sprinted. Well, for me, maybe 10 yards. It was racing. It was like boom, 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 boom. I mean, it was crazy. And you'd walk up these 5 steps, they say your name, and my legs felt like lead. But I started doing it, and I would go once a week, and then I stopped after 3 months. And then after another 6 months, I go, boy, if I'm going to do this, I really got to go. I mean, it was very scary. It was starting off.
But you've done it again.
But I did it, and I stuck with it. And Jamie was great and gave me my own hour show. Yeah. Like, Jamie, 20 minutes. I go, I'm going to be doing an hour. He goes, okay, buddy, I'll give you Wednesday. So he really supported me. He really did. So I learned that because of him, I learned how to be a stand-up at his club. And then I used to do like hosting for SNL guys like Kevin Nealon and Norm Macdonald and Victoria Jackson. And then one time at corporate day, they go, can you do 10 minutes? I'm like, 10? Because I was only doing 5. When you start, it's forever.
Right.
And I did it. And then the woman at carpet goes, you're a stand-up. You could do this. I go, really? All right. And then I got to 20 minutes. I couldn't get past 20.
But that's still
how much material I had. because I was rushing. And Dana Carvey helped me. Like he said, you got to have fun on stage and do a short setup and do a lot of jokes on one topic. Don't like do a long set, like 3-minute setup and then one joke and then switch topics. And that, he goes, that's a recipe for exhausting the audience. And then I said, well, how do I come up with more material? He goes, well, look at the topics you have and then go, how can I expand on those topics? Like write more jokes on that topic. It seems, and it's such a simple answer, but it would have never occurred to me. It occurs to comics after they've been doing it for years. So he saved me years, you know. And after like, and then eventually after about a year, I started co-headlining with Norm. And then I started, after about a year that I headlined on my own. And it's been great. I love it.
It's been fantastic. Speaking of minutes, we got about 45 seconds left in this segment. I want to go back to 1982. I want to tell everybody when you and I were neighbors. I want to tell them what you did when you got your first acting job. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Tell them tell them what you did.
I was 25 and the Paper Chase the second year.
On Showtime.
I laughed and then I cried and then I threw up.
There you go. And then he ran out to me. I was on the porch and he said, Tim, I got my first acting job. And then I threw up. Okay, we're gonna be right.
Because the pressure of everyone going, what are you doing? You're wasting your life. And no one's telling you to do this. You know, you're on your own and no one's telling you but you. And then at the Groundlings, you know, you have everyone going, they're going, yeah, you're funny. And you've always been extremely supportive, which, you know, was great. The funniest thing I remember about you, we lived on Harriet.
Okay, hold on. We got to take a break and we'll pick it up on Harriet Street. And Jon Lovitz is my guest. It's Radio with TV's Tim Stack. John's going to be at the Milwaukee Improv in October 20th and 22nd. The Milwaukee Improv in Brookfield, Wisconsin. Okay, we'll be right back.
Irvine, September 9th and 10th.
There you go. That too.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to play this and here we go.
Tim Stack is gay.
Is a public service announcement. If you have a problem telling
That's us.
This message is for you.
Hello, my name is Tommy Flanagan, and I'm a member of Pathological Liars Anonymous. In fact, I'm the president of that organization. That's who I am. I didn't always lie. No, I used to tell the truth. But then one day I told a lie and I got away with it. Yeah. Told my parents I had a brother that they'd never met. They got mad at me for not telling them sooner. And they kicked me out of the house. Yeah, that's what happened.
Okay, I think that was 1984, John, that you and I and somebody else from the Groundlings went to do the Tonight Show.
I think it was March 18th, 1985.
It was such a big deal. Like I tried to tell people it was insane that we were going to be on this Tonight Show. Then I have another compliment.
Yeah, I remember being in the Groundlings and on a Sunday, I get 20 messages from people in the Groundlings. Congratulations on my voicemail. And I remember Steve Hebber going, congratulations, it's so great. Nobody's saying what's it for. So on Monday, I called Tom Maxwell, you know, the artistic director of the Groundlings. Was he from North Carolina or South?
Yeah, Hickory, North Carolina.
North, right? You know, spoke like this. So I go, Tom, what's going on? Everybody's congratulating me for what? He goes, we're going on the Tonight Show. I go, who? He goes, you're doing the liar sketch. And he goes, they were there Saturday. I go, they saw us. I go, they were? Yeah, you didn't know? I go, no, I didn't know. Yeah, they're going to do You're the Liar sketch, and you and Tim Stack are going to do the truck driver's piece, and then they're going to do White Man's Rap with Don Woodard and Mindy Sterling and Kate Benton. I go, when? He goes, Thursday. I go, Thursday? Oh my God. He goes, yeah, can you believe it? I go, no. And we're both like screaming. We were so excited because the Groundlings is a 99-seat theater. Now we're going on the Tonight Show in front of 5 million people.
With Johnny Carson. It was just crazy how much you just
and
had no idea.
Yeah, you wrote that truck driver's piece. I remember you were always generous to me. You put me in that.
Yeah, back
and actually another piece you put me in helped me get SNL. I don't know if you know that.
What was that one?
The World War II piece, how we ended up on the front lines.
Yes. That
actually got me the show.
Seriously?
Yeah, but it's kind of funny how. So, well, how tall are you? 6'4"?
Yeah.
And I'm like 5'10". So we would be on stage and we go, how'd you end up in the war? Well, you did it originally. Then I get in the grounds and I said, God, I love that. You go, well, you want to be in it? And I go, yeah. And you helped me write. We wrote it together. You've been very generous. So my story about, how I got in the war, and you were on my left and 6'4". So, and he's like, how'd you end up in here? And I go, how did I end up here? I go, God, I used to know it so well.
I need
Anyway, I go, how did I end up here? I go, I was at home. I go, package arrived. No, I don't know. The army drafted me in my army suit, arrived in the mail. A package arrived in the mail. Wrapped inside was my uniform with my name on it. Grandma got to it first. She didn't want to lose the only man. He goes, she didn't want to lose the only man with rubber feet. Oh, she put it on, took my place. Nobody knew.
It was all, the whole thing was based on those old World War II movies.
Dana Andrews, nobody knew, because that uniform fit her like a glove. Right after she added 15 yards of canvas material. And then I'd look up and you go, you see, Captain, Grandma was what you call a hefty gal. Oh, she liked to eat. And you came up with this one. In fact, she was quite the chow hound. And I go, who am I kidding? She was a fat pig.
Yeah. We can't.
Anyway, when I said, you see, Captain, so at my audition in New York, we auditioned, I blew it in this Minskoff Studios. Next day, they put us on tape. And I met Randy Quaid once, I think through you maybe, but I met him at, was it at Brian Dennehy's house? Who you were
I used to play a lot of golf with Randy Quaid.
Yes, I met through you once. So Randy was already hired. So I go, what else should I do? I go, I do this piece about my grandmother, and I did it for him. So we go inside the studio, and Lauren goes, you want to do the liar? And I go, well, I already did it. I mean, you want me to do it again? He goes, yeah, that's right. Does make sense. And then Randy goes, why don't you do that thing about your grandmother you did for me? I went, oh, okay. So I go, this is a guy in the road. How'd I end up here? A package came in the mail one day. Wrapped inside is my uniform. Grandma got to it first. Like, she wouldn't lose the only man with rubber feet. Fit her like a glove, after she had all canvas material. Then I looked up at Randy on my left and I went, you see, Captain? Now in my head, he's on my left, just like you.
Yeah.
He's 6'4".
Yeah.
Just like you.
Yeah.
I went like this. I just went like I went, you see, Captain? And I'm thinking, oh, just like Tim.
Yeah.
So I get the show. Anyway, I ended up getting it. And Al Frank goes, you were everything we didn't want in one person. I'm like, oh, thanks a lot. I go, then why did you hire me? He goes, because you were funny. Because you were everything we didn't want in one person, but you were funny. I go, well, what made you laugh? He goes, you're doing that thing and you went like this and looked up twice. I go, I wasn't trying to be funny. I was saying, just like Tim. Is that crazy?
No, that's funny. That's a funny story.
And every time Al saw that, he couldn't stop laughing.
That's funny. John and I we lived in there was like a groundlings of this improv company in LA.
But you lived there first. And
I lived there first, Josh King and Shirley Prestia. Then there was a guy on the first floor who had a Nazi flag. I remember him. He was really weird. He lived down next to Shirley.
I remember there was an actor named Drew, nice guy, and next door there was two guys, who are gay, living next door to him. And I'll never forget, he said to me, John, he goes, oh God, last night I'm in my apartment, I hear all this slamming around in the kitchen and they're banging, it's like nuts. And then all of a sudden I hear, oh Larry, you're killing me.
Okay. We know what story we're gonna cut out of this for time. I forgot to tell you, John, this show is G-rated.
Oh.
But okay, we told the Showtime story. The
about you'd enjoy that story.
John's first job.
Well, here's a story. Here's a story. This is how little we knew. I'll never forget this. So you had two things. First of all, you had a date book, a calendar, and I was very impressed by that. You were
Yes.
always,
I still have one.
yeah. And
Everybody
then,
else has moved on to electronic calendars. I still have a
and then you said to me, yeah, John, when I make calls, they go, hello, like so-and-so agency. Yeah, hi, this is Tim Stack. I'm calling for so-and-so. I think they like it when you say your name. And who you wanna speak to. That was like an advanced thing. I think
yes.
they like it when you say your name.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi, this is Tim Stack for Ed Smith.
That's an entire hour of my seminar now on
You
how
remember that?
to make it. I
You
vaguely
told me, and I was I go, oh.
I think the
Yeah.
fact that you were impressed with me is why I kept talking, because nobody else would listen. That's how bottom of the ladder you were.
No, but you and Phil Hartman you guys were the top two guys, the Groundlings. So I was classes, the whole school in Columbia, we all looked up to you guys. You were both super nice to me.
But
And I'm very grateful for that.
I'm grateful back to you. You've always been great. I mean, you put Brave Little Toaster together. People love that movie, and you kind of put all the Groundlings in, including Phil and me. And
I don't know. I don't remember. I know that there was a guy,
Joe Ranft,
Joe. Yeah, Joe. And
who unfortunately he passed away too in a car
Yeah.
accident. Yeah.
yeah, it was
He went
awful.
on to create
He
Toy
was
Story.
taking class at the Groundlings, and then he was part of what became Pixar. And
Yes.
and that was that. In fact, I didn't realize this. The Brave Little Toaster was. I saw this documentary on Pixar, and John Lasseter, who's the star of Pixar, he wrote it, and he said that was going to be the first computer animated movie ever. The Brave Little Toaster. I wrote it. I submitted to Disney, and then they fired me. Did you know that?
No, I knew he had something to do with it. I know because
He wrote it.
Wow. I thought Joe Ranft wrote it. No?
No, but Joe was part of it, and Jerry Rees, who directed
Yes.
it. They all went to Cal Arts together.
Right.
And then they went, Pixar, they started, and Joe is like, in A Bug's Life, he was the voice of the caterpillar. And he was a very nice guy, super nice, taking class at the Groundlings. But I thought he was the one that put us all in it. Maybe
He
he said
contacted
who-
you first. I remember you
Oh.
calling and saying they want us to do this. And then we went to some weird office in Hollywood. And he said to me, I think you'd be great, Lampy, but he was such a Groundling fanatic. He said, do your voice of Skeeter and Babs. And that was this sketch I'd done with Tress MacNeille like a couple of years earlier. And I kept thinking, how do you even remember that? And that's sort of what I did for the voice of the Lampy for that movie. But you were very generous with that. But I do want to say two other things about like the moments I knew you were going to have a great career. One was the Tonight Show when you went out there by yourself. That was unbelievable that you nailed it that night. And you were by yourself. You were the first one to go out of all of us. That was crazy.
This girl used to do this to me. That's so annoying. Isn't that annoying?
Yes. And then the other time,
As
I'll
if
see
I
if you
knew.
remember this, John. You got an audition for a pilot called Foley Square. And at that point, I had moved in with my wife. We'd hooked up. And I moved in with her. And you came over and we worked on your audition. And I remember when you left, I said, not only is he going to get that, I said, he's got a talent that nobody else has right now, which is sort of that 30s, 40s, movie thing that's going to be able to transcend itself to modern television. And you went and you got that thing. And then you got SNL after that. And anyway.
Well, my liar character was based on old characters on old movies, and Master Thespian was like, I loved old movies, those characters. I just thought those people, to me, they were just so entertaining and bigger than life, and they were real, but they were just great actors. John Barrymore and John Carradine and my act teacher, William Needles, but their voices were just like, Master Thespian were just booming.
Yeah, but you also
so loud. Yes! It was like a cannon, and I could imitate it. The Tonight Show, the funniest thing, we get there on a Thursday, and it was like 3:00, and I remember being at NBC in the commissary, and I said to Tom Maxwell, I go, Tom, I know you always go, I was so brave. You don't know. I was nervous as
we all were.
And I said, Tom, what am I going to do? Because half the time the liar character works, and half the time it doesn't when I would do it at the Groundlings. Because if they didn't get the first joke, which is, hello, I'm Tommy Flanagan. I'm a member of Pathological Liars Anonymous. And then the joke is, in fact, I'm the president of that organization.
Yeah.
And if they didn't always, if they got that he's like lying, which was the joke, like he's going to confess that he has a problem and then lie about it. And I didn't know what to do. And then we had rehearsal and we go out in the studio. I went out and I remember looking up the Tonight Show. It looked, I think the Groundlings is like 99 seats. It's like nothing. This thing was 380. It looked like the seats, went to the heaven. So huge. So I said to the director, I go, where do I look? Because I go, do you play to the audience? I hadn't been on TV like this. He goes, just play it to camera. Okay. So now I had somewhere to focus, right?
Yeah.
Where I knew where to look, but I still didn't know what I was going to do. And I don't know if you remember this, but we were in the makeup room and Jack Lemmon was a guest on the show and Morley Safer.
I remember Morley Safer.
Interviewing
Yes.
Jack Lemmon for 60 minutes.
Yes.
I'm standing against the wall, and in my mind, I'm thinking, "Oh, this is that world where they all live. It's like it's another world, which it kind of is." And so, or was then. So, I heard Morley Safer. He said, Jack Lemmon, you've been acting for 40 years. What have you learned? And John goes, well, the one thing I've learned is keep it simple. And I'm like, that's my answer. Keep it simple. Just relax, look at the camera,
That's great.
So then as I was doing the piece, I was like, and I go, so if you're out there, you have a problem with lying, just give us a call. We meet at my house in Jamaica. But in my head, I'm thinking, so if you're out there looking at this right now, you need an actor, call me. That's what I was thinking.
Keep it simple.
Like, hello.
We got to take another break. I do remember, one thing I remember too is somebody always telling us we were so starstruck, and all they kept saying was, "If you see Johnny, don't approach him." It was like, okay. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break. John is coming up at September 10th at the Irvine Improv. It's at the Milwaukee Improv, October 20th through the 22nd through the 23rd, and then November 10th and 11th at the Chicago Improv in Schaumburg, Illinois. We're going to be right back with more on It's Radio with TV's Tim Stack.
Okay,
Awesome, guys.
now I'm gonna play the next bit. Here we go.
Is it really rated G, your show?
Yeah.
No, actually, you can. We'll bleep you if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah,
swear
if you
or
wanna-
No, I don't have to. I didn't know. I thought
It's
'cause
radio.
Yeah.
So it's radio first, but we can clean it up, and then the podcast you can say whatever the heck you want.
Judy said, Larry, you're killing me.
I remember that story.
Don't worry, I mark wherever you say shit or fuck or whatever it is, and it's okay.
Oh, well, I don't have to. I thought you could. I just didn't know.
Yeah. Now we don't have a 7-second delay.
Is this live radio?
No, it's not.
But it will air on radio all this week. So.
Yeah.
Well, I won't cuss. I didn't. It's fine.
That's okay. I'll fix the first one though.
That
That one's on me.
I
Okay,
figure it's a podcast, like on the internet, you can say, anything. with.
pretty much.
Well, it's actually on about 6 radio stations, and then it's a podcast as well.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. 3,
So
2.
this really is TV.
Hey,
Stack on
You're
radio.
the greasy guy who saved me from coons when I was let out of prison. What are you doing here?
Notch. I'm an ex-agent who was inside the brown starfish. Oh, and I'm also the father of BJ's baby.
You don't look familiar.
Maybe this will help.
Remember now, baby?
Look at you. You're so handsome.
Tell me something I don't know.
But BJ's lover, how did you happen to plant your man seed in BJ's fertile pleasure garden?
What?
Got me pregnant.
Well, you see, brown starfish wanted me to kill BJ. Named Congressman Bukkake. I fell in love with her. Naturally, she fell head over heels for me, so instead of killing her, I protected her by wiping out her memory with a drug called Ephodol.
Ephodol? Isn't that the drug that's so popular at fraternity parties?
Oh, Notch, look at me. You think I need mind-altering drugs to get women?
Well, to tell you the truth.
Moving on.
Very good, very good. That was from Son of the Beach. John was nice
Interesting.
enough to come on the last big episode.
You can say I was in their brown starfish, but you can't say, Larry, you're killing me.
I guess we can say all of that now. One is a play on words.
That was a
The
lot
other
of
is a reenactment.
I didn't say what was happening. I
Okay.
just heard a lot of crashing.
So Speaking of voices, and we talked a little bit about your love of old movies, but I do want to talk a little bit because we were all so naive, and you were so naive when you first joined us. But at the time, one of the things I remember at the time was you had a job delivering clothes for a men's store in the Valley. Is that right?
Well, I worked the stockroom, Rick Palak, and I would get Rick lunch. Rick was a great guy. He was, I mean, he still is, but he was, I graduated college, and my dad goes, it was a doctor in the Valley, goes, you need a job. I have a patient. He sells clothes out of his apartment. He said you could go talk to him. And I saw Rick. He was a year older than me. And I remembered him from junior high school. I go, oh, I've seen you. And you used to work at this, there was a boy store in Encino, Rudnick's, where everybody went to get clothes. I go, I remember you waited on me in Rudnick's. He goes, yeah, I remember you. So he hired me. And he was selling like $1 million a year worth of clothes out of his apartment in 1981.
Wow.
So I worked for Rick for 3 years. He was great. And, you know, I worked for about a year and a half and sold clothes one day. I kept saying, I want to sell. He goes, just do it. I go, oh, all right. And I actually did it one time, and I didn't know anything about clothes. I didn't know it. And I learned finally, but I didn't know. And then I came back, and then he had a regular store, and I worked from there for about a year and a half. And then I got the paper chase. And after that, I did 2 weeks. I quit the store because I just said, I can't go back to that store. You know, because I was folding shirts and running errands. And, you know, I was, you know, lucky that I had a job and grateful to them. And I liked everyone there, but it's not what I wanted to be doing. And
did you ever deliver clothes to stars? Do I remember that correctly? Like,
well, Rick had a Rolls Royce, and he had some clothes. He goes, go. And he said, oh, take this to a Joan Collins house. And I thought he said, take the rolls. So I did. And then I didn't take the rolls. I go, oh, I thought you said, get in the rolls and deliver the, you know.
That's really funny. So, but also
he would dress all the biggest newsmen in LA. And
yeah,
a lot of celebrities came in. The Jacksons would come in, from the five, but we grew up with them, you know, in school. So he knew them. And I'd see him at school. I'd see like LaToya. She was in my class at Portola Junior High.
Yeah. Speaking of
that movie, Licorice Pizza, the opening scene that's at Portola Junior High, where I went to school in Tarzan.
Oh, really? I love that movie. Speaking of street names, what is your porn name? Like, if you take your middle name and the street you grew up on, what is your name?
Michael Viviana.
Michael Viviana.
Michael Viviana.
I could see that guy working.
Well, that's my fake porn
for
name.
A week.
That's your fake porn.
My real porn name is Jon Lovitz.
Okay.
You know, I did that. I actually did that. I never told anyone, but I would do insert shots in porn movies for about 3 years.
Yeah. Larry, you're killing me.
Not gay. Nothing wrong with gay porn. Nothing wrong. In fact, you know, in some circles, it's delightful. And there's nothing wrong. But no, I did straight porn. But I was only do the insert shot. So they would only film me from, like, you know, the belly button down to the knees. So I did it for about 3 years. And I made like $1 million a year.
Yeah.
3 times a week. And but I quit. It was because I couldn't get my face on camera.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
I want to be an actor.
Not when you're delivering clothes.
No one knew it was me. So imagine how frustrating. 3 times a week, a different beautiful woman.
Yeah.
Servicing your needs orally, and they're paying you, and you're making $1 million a year, but nobody knows it's you.
I do want to talk about your child.
I am available for that job again, by the way.
Okay. I'd rather promote your stand-up. So I do want to talk about your child a little bit. Also, a bunch of things there was, like, you used to hang out as a kid at Marlon Brando's house. Talk about that a little bit.
No, well, I worked at a clothing store, and Rick had a real, like, there was 4 of us in an apartment. Now he had a store, and he had a cashier, Lisa Vixen, and her boyfriend was Marlon's son, Miko. So I ended up becoming good friends with Miko.
Yeah, like very good friends.
Yeah, and then we ended up, and then like the last 3 years of Marlon's life, I got to, you know, to go up there and stuff. But I mean, I don't know. He was very private. So I mean, there's no secret stories except that I still respect his privacy, you know. And but I can say,
John, I just got to say, just the fact
tell you one story.
You were in his house, you hung with Marlon Brando. After all this Godfather stuff, I just watched Francis Ford Coppola last night on CNN talking about Brando, and it's just, it's unbelievable. You got to hang with the guy, and I think that's super impressive.
Well, I can say the stuff not about his private life, but which was just normal. It was not, but I can tell you this: he was a really nice man. He was very nice to me. I got to go to that acting class that he taught, and I've seen articles written about it saying how crazy it was and nuts. And once they had the director who directed American History X, and he was really, you know, they go come as a character, and like right after 9/11, so he dressed up as Osama bin Laden. It was very offensive, and then he was rude to these other people. So Marlon, there was like 40 people in the class, and then this guy Tony, I forget his last name, he had about 20 students, and he goes, "Well, who thinks that Tony's right?" You know, because these women are doing an improv, and then Tony goes, "Cut, that was shit." And Marlon's like, "Excuse me, what do you think you are to yell cut? It's my class. What are you doing?" You know, and Marlon, I tell you, was the nicest acting teacher. Like and he would just have everyone do improvs. So he goes, "Well, you know, it was bad." And it was these two women, African-American women in their 50s, really well dressed. They'd never acted. And Marlon was like, anyone can do this. And he had all different kinds of people in the class. He had a homeless guy that he met in the alley named Jim. He invited him into the class. I mean, that was Marlon. I'm serious. He goes, you know, maybe he could learn how to act and make a living. And this is Jim. And, you know, and that Marlon just treated everybody. It didn't matter who equal, you know. I mean, he didn't care if they had money. He was respectful of everybody. He never thought he was better than anyone. And just, you know, he didn't buy into it. So, but it was funny. He goes, "Well, how many people think I'm wrong and Tony's right?" So about 20 people in this guy, Tony, they all raised their hands. And then Marlon goes, "Okay, well, you can all leave." I'm dying. So half the class leaves, like 20 feet, you know, and he goes, "All right, well, let's continue." and like nothing happened. And then the next day, the cameras were set up differently. And Miko was there, and I go, "Miko, see how the cameras are set up now differently?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "They're set up correctly." I go, "Your dad knows what he's doing." I go, "They're set up. It makes sense the way they're set up now. They didn't before, you know." And it was, you know, a privilege to be. But he was a really, really nice. He was very nice to me. But one time he goes, "John," the thing under my chin, he goes, the fat. He goes, "John, you gotta get rid of this." I'm like, "All right."
That's really funny coming from Marlon Brando. So anyway, back to the old movies. There's so much I want to talk about. But I do want to play this clip because it's my favorite clip of you and Phil together on SNL, and it really speaks again to John and I both love old movies. And sometimes we'll go on text rants. I'll be watching a movie on TCM and I'll take a picture of some weird actor like Eric Glor.
I guess you did.
Eric Glor, yeah.
Eric Glor. And I'll text it to John. I was like, "Do you do this guy?" And of course he does. So anyway, here's the clip. Here's my favorite clip of you guys together on SNL.
Yeah, I guess you did.
Anyway, I'm sure Yankee Kamikaze is going to be a real winner.
Well, I hope you're right.
Maybe I've made too many of these war movies. Maybe I should take a rest, huh, Eric?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Johnny. I think you should take a rest too. A permanent one.
What do you mean?
I'm letting you go.
You mean?
Yes, your contract isn't being renewed.
But Harry,
You're finished, Johnny.
Don't mince words.
I think you're stink.
Listen, Harry, if you're unhappy with my work, tell me now.
You're through. Do you hear me? Through. You'll never work in this town again.
Don't leave me hanging by a thread. Let me know where I stand.
I think you're the worst actor I've ever seen, and I get 500 letters a day telling me the same.
What's the word on the street?
Oh my God, that makes me laugh.
We would always do that, back and forth across that line. Buy for 2 cents. Yeah, what would you do for a nickel? And we would always do it. And then I said, Phil, let's write something. We're always doing it. I didn't realize half that scene was in his audition for the show. If you go on YouTube, you can see it. And we were saying it. So that sketch was about, like, I'm the head of a studio, and he's an actor that's playing a World War II pilot, but he's got all caught up in it and he's gone crazy. So I'm like, I gotta fire him. So the sketch was called One More Mission.
Ugh.
And we wrote it together. And
it's so funny. And it just,
we rehearsed it like crazy.
But you guys were so in sync, especially people forget the Chick Hazard Olympic trials from 1984, when the Olympics were in LA and there was a special show at the Groundlings. And you, I think, I never got to be in a Chick Hazard sketch, maybe once, but you were like born for that thing. And it just comes through in that sketch.
Well, I was in the Groundlings, I took classes, and that was spread out over a year. And then I got in the Sunday company, and then, and then you can get in the main company after 6 months. So 6 months went by. I didn't get voted into the main company, but I wasn't expecting to, I was fine. But then after a year, without naming names, people got voted into the main company that Tracy Newman was director. He said, what I'm better than them. She goes, yeah, I know. I go, so then why don't you vote me? And she goes, well, but you can do other things. You're talented. They can only do this. I go, I've been here for 2 years working my ass off to get in the company. And now you're saying I'm too good?
Yeah.
What?
Funny. I remember that.
And I was so mad. And then I met with Tom, and he goes, well, we're doing this play with Phil and Chick Hazard. He goes, look, I'm the director of the company. Well, first he said, well, you had some problems with a couple of the women, and I'm not going to say their names, but you know them. And I go, well, they're mentally ill. And I go, sorry, I don't get along with people that are mentally ill. Sorry. So he goes, look, I'm the director of the company. I've never worked with you. I don't know you. So why don't you understudy this part in Chick Hazard? Because guy's George McGrath's playing the part. He's taking a few days, wants a couple of weeks off. So you could understudy the part, and you'll be working with me. And he goes, and let's see how we work together. And, just, start from a clean slate. And then, if we see how we work together, and if it's good, I'd want you to see how that goes. Does that sound fair to you? And I go, yeah, that's fair. I go, thank you. I appreciate it. And then I was like, well, whose idea was it for me to understudy? He goes, Phil's. And I go, Phil? Phil knows who I am. He was, everybody in our mind, you and him, we were like giant stars. And then I remember being in the hallway of the theater where we had all our lockers. And Phil walks down the hallway in his Chick Hazard costume, and he's all got the makeup and the fedora, and he's in character. I don't know. He's just walking down the hallway. And I'll go, oh, hey, Phil, I'm Jon Lovitz. Yeah, John, I know who you are. I think you're great. I go, oh, you seen my work? Yeah, I think you're terrific. I go, thanks. Well, thanks for recommending me to understudy the part. He goes, sure, you'll be terrific. And then he walked on by. And in my mind, right, I thought, my God, Phil Hartman spoke to me. I'd never met him. I just saw him.
So funny.
We were all like, there's Phil Hartman, So I was like, so grateful to him. And
yeah, that's a great story. We're going to take another break, and then we're going to wrap it up. Yeah, there's a lot of advertisers for the show. They're just chiming in to get, because of me. September 10th, John's at the Irvine Improv. October 20th through the 22nd, the Milwaukee Improv. And then November 10th through the 12th at the Chicago Improv. We'll be right back with more of Jon Lovitz on It's Radio with TV's Tim Stack.
All right, here comes the final clip.
Here we go. Are we going to talk about Nine of Vagina?
Hello, tribal members. I'm Injun Larry. Okay, I got some announcements about some events coming up. Next week, it's all comedy here at the Velvet Wigwam. Joining us will be Lupe de Vega, the Fanny Bryce of Central America.
And
now for the feature presentation. So sit back, close your eyes. You'll think it's good. Let's have a big hand for Mr. Guy DeSimo.
Good evening, Squawk, Nevada. I got one thing to say to you. Close your eyes. You'll think it's Sinatra.
That was
Feel just like
that was Guy D. Simone. That was my big character at the Groundlings many moons ago. And then, I did a Cinemax special that John was nice enough to come to Reno and do that bit for us. This was after Saturday Night Live, and it was fun. Do you remember being in Reno for that thing? And I remember
While I was on Saturday Night Live.
while you were on Saturday Night Live.
And I met, but yeah, and I remember, and and I go, gee, I don't know if I can do this. I'm on Saturday Night Live. And I asked Lauren, he goes, yes, you can do it. Why? He's a friend. These are the things you do for your friend.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't know that.
I went, okay. I didn't, yeah, I mean, I did not want to do it, but I go, well, what do I,
You were looking for an excuse not to.
well, then I was supposed to do it. And then my girlfriend, she had an eye infection. I had the flu. I go, Tim, I'm going to.
What a wonderful couple you sound like.
And then Jan, your wife, started screaming in the background.
Yeah, because,
Screw him, you help people that I hate this. Then. All right, I'll come. But no, but I really did have the flu. I did. But I did it anyway. Don't feel guilty. I finished the shoot, went in the hospital, and because I was so sick, I lost a leg.
Yes.
Happy?
What a fun story. So I do remember sitting at a blackjack table with you. You had never played blackjack before, and you were so afraid you really liked it, and you were so afraid you were going to become addicted to gambling. You played like two hands. I think you won one hand, and you were terrified. Oh my God, I think I'm going to become a gambling addict. This is horrible. I guess, no, John, you're not, I don't drink, Tim. Look, I'm drinking Pepsi. Free Pepsi, I'm drinking. I'm going to become a gambler. No, John, you're not. It's all right. Don't worry.
That sounds like, I didn't know anything about anything.
Anything about anything. No wonder your girl got an eye.
Just focus on acting. That's all I knew.
I do want to talk, your father, I just remember being such a character and an influence on you. And I'm wondering because I remember him being like, not crazy about you being in show business, and then super excited about you being in show business. Am I right?
Well, I mean, he was a very successful doctor in the Valley. He built like Tarzana Hospital. He built it. He was like the biggest internist in the Valley. He had like 5,000 patients, and everybody. I mean, back then was like Kenny Rogers and Clint.
Yeah,
Eastwood,
a lot of famous people.
Jackson 5. They were all his doctor. He wasn't like trying to get celebrities, but his office was in Encino, and a lot of performers living in the Valley. But he wanted to be a singer, so
right. I remember him.
So he'd say, "I go, do you want me to be a doctor?" He goes, "Well, I'd love it because I would never tell you what to do." He goes, "Find out what you do that you love doing and you're passionate about, and then whatever that is, do that, and try to leave the world a better place than you found it." Okay. So, and he kept telling me about the Groundlings when I was 20, and I didn't know these people, but you probably did. Was it Jim and Laura Gleason?
Yeah, Jimmy Gleason, sure. And she was a casting director.
Okay, I never met, but that was one of his patients.
Right.
And he goes, my patient is Jim and Laura Gleason. They go to the Groundlings. And I remember I went when I was 20 because Lisa Kudrow, her brother Dave was like my brother, and we grew up together. So their older sister, Helene, she worked for this guy, David Stewart, that was a manager and who worked for Larry Thompson. So I met with David to give me advice. He goes, go to the Groundlings. There's this thing called a guy named Paul Rubens as his character, Pee Wee Herman, a midnight show. You should go see it. So I went, and I loved, he was, hilarious, of course.
Yeah.
So I called the next day, and Tom Maxwell, who I didn't know, I answered, he goes, hello. I go, yeah, do you teach class there? Yeah, come on down.
And bring cash.
And it scared me.
I had the same reaction to him. Do you know how I found the Groundlings? It involves Phil. I was tending bar at the Troubadour. The only guy I knew when I moved to LA was a cocaine dealer named Roland. I'm not going to give his last name. And so I read about the Groundlings.
Last name, I knew him very well.
I read about the Groundlings, and I bought a ticket. And then Roland said, hey, we're going to a party on Saturday night. So I said, I'm going to see the show, The Groundlings. So I go to the Groundlings, and he said, come to the party afterwards. I go to the Groundlings, and it's Paul in the show, and Phil is Chick Hazard, and John Paragon. It was just Edie McClurk. You remember your first experience. it's a religious experience. Then I go afterwards to the party, and who is there but Phil? And he tells me, I was like, oh my God, I saw the show. How do you get in? Well, you know, he's like, take a class. And back then, do you remember carrying like a little address book sometimes? Like, anyway, he had Tom Maxwell's number in his address book. I called Tom the next day, and he said, all you got to do is join, bring cash. And that's how I found the Groundlings.
And Tom Maxwell, by the way, I don't know, you know, I would say to him all the time, I go, Tom, you are the Groundlings. I go, you're it's because of you that the company's doing so well. Because he was a great director, great organizer, you know, great teacher, and a brilliant comedian. He did that show Waco, and Tom was just like, his timing, everything, he was hysterical.
Yes.
I go, why aren't you acting more? You're like your timing is. He was very dry and I mean perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, very dry.
But he does not look like, when I went to give cash for the class, he doesn't look like he's an improv. Like, he doesn't look like your standard comedian.
No, but he was.
So I understand why you were scared. I get that.
But he just, I didn't understand. Yeah, come on down. This is my dad. When you should go to the Groundlings, you should go to the Groundlings. So I go, I worked my ass off for 2.5 years. Dad, I got in the company. Well, as far as I'm concerned, you wasted all your time there. I go, what? First of all, you're the one.
That's a really funny character.
You're the one who told me to go here in the. I go, you don't know what you're talking about. And secondly, you're the one who told me to go here in the first place.
Oh, did I?
Now I'm
I was
wasting.
kidding.
You don't know what you're talking about, you know. But yeah, he was. I remember he came to see me do Saturday Night Live, and at the end of the show, we come out to take our bows. He was in the front row, and I've never seen him smile that big.
Yeah, I remember that because I was there.
He was
at the end of the season.
Which made me happy. You know, I just wanted to make him happy.
But
that's a good life.
Yeah.
What a waste.
Show me a funny person who doesn't want to make their parents happy.
Well, don't do it. It's a waste. They're just miserable anyway. Don't waste your time.
But I do remember.
No. All right, I'm gonna be. Bye.
But I do remember the opera singing. Didn't he want to be an opera singer?
Yeah, and the singer.
And he was always like, you told me he was always going around the house like Figaro and singing all that stuff.
Oh, I'd always be singing. Every Sunday he played opera music and musical, and me and my sisters would always be singing growing up. And I'm actually working on a show now to sing, and it's going to be called From the Shower to the Stage, but it's me. And I thought of your character, Guy DeSimone. And I'm doing me, not Guy, but I'm singing those kinds of songs. And when you were into that, I didn't really understand it. Sinatra, I didn't get it. I didn't really know. Now I really understand him way more. Now I'm like, oh no, now I get that character even more. I mean, I really get your character, which is I always thought it was funny, but now I really get it because there's so many of these people. It's like they want to be Elvis. They want to be Frank Sinatra,
Yes. And
I would be in the Beverly Hills at some restaurant, and some guy from New York goes, anyway, how you doing, John? Good. He goes, oh, by the way, I saw Frank. He's doing better. I go, Frank. And he goes, Sinatra. I go, oh, all right. I don't know. He goes, Frank. Their whole life was him, which is your character. But the more I hear him sing,
it's unbelievable.
The more I go, it's like Shakespeare. Every time you hear it, you read it, you find something new. Yes. His songs, he's unbelievably great. I mean, I remember Harry Connick hosted the show, and I got to know Harry, and I said, what do you think of Frank Sinatra? He was like, oh my God. He goes, he is. I go, why do you think he's so great? He goes, oh my God, he's doing so many different things. He goes, it's just unbelievable. And now I understand it a lot better. And it is because he makes every song, like he said, he goes, it's personal, but he makes it like, it's like he's improvising the song on the spot, and he's just talking about some story that he himself is going through right now.
Yes.
Plus he's hitting all the notes. Plus it goes phrasing the way he's singing it.
Yes.
And a friend of mine, his dad's a singer, and he goes, I go, what is it? He goes, well, he puts his personality into his work, into his song voice. It's him, but in the situation. So he's kind of doing it like if you were playing a character in a musical comedy, but you're the character singing this song about what's happening. But he can sing. I mean, there's a famous song, "A Cottage for Sale." Do you know that song?
Sure.
And the first time I heard him sing it, I was like bawling,
Well,
crying. 'Cause it's about, the end of a relationship, like a divorce or something. And I think it's like the best song you ever sang. He's so unbelievably great.
well, now you know how I felt when we got Frank Sinatra Jr. to be on Son of the Beach. I was just, and then we became very good friends, but it was my chance to I loved Frank Jr., but hearing the stories about his father is just crazy.
You want to hear a story? I got to meet Frank once.
Okay, but we're out of time. I'm getting told we're out of time. So you're going to come back?
The greatest story ever. Goodbye. It's the one story that will put your ratings through the roof. Goodbye. I gotta go.
Jon Lovitz, thank you. I love you. You're a friend for all these years. I want to give you one more. September 10th, the Irvine Improv. October 20th through the 22nd, the Milwaukee Improv. 23rd, sorry. November 10th to the 12th, the Chicago Improv. You can watch the show I worked on, Sprung, on Freevee. Come back for the Jeremiah show. As always, the guy who brought me into this. But Jon, thank you again, man. It was so great to talk to you.
My pleasure. Thank you for always being so nice to me and great, generous, and helping me always. And, I'll do the show whenever you want. First one's free.
Okay, that's it. It's radio with TV's Tim Stack.
You're clear.
Sorry,
All right.
sorry about that. I
You're
stepped
fine.
over you.
Don't worry.
You're fine.
Hey, John, that was awesome. That was great. Thank you so much for doing the show.
Thank you. Now let's review. What I did was, first segment,
Could we get from you a really quick radio promo, just stating basically your name?
You're listening to.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And then mention that you're on It's Radio with TV's Tim Stack, because we're going to put this in future shows for him for a promo. So if you want to drop something that's kind of evergreen that might last for the year, where to go, your Facebook or Twitter or whatever you like.
All right. Are you ready?
All right. I'll count you down, John. All right. In 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Jon Lovitz, and you're listening to It's Radio with TV's Tim Stack.
Give me one more, only this time, can you give it to me in the pathological liar format?
No, I'm not good at that.
You're not good at that. Okay. Thank you.
I'm not.
Okay. I got you. Okay. Hey, thank you. Perfect. We got it. And
We're out on time.
We're out on time. Thank you so much.
Jon, I'll call you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Bye.
I'll talk to you. See you.
All right. Bye. God.
Hi, Diane. Hi, Chad.
Hi, Neil. How are you?
Good. How you doing? Nice to meet you.
Good. Nice to meet you too. Thanks for having me on.
Our pleasure. Diane, can you hear?
We just can't hear Diane.
Diane, your voice isn't on. Oh, she's gone. Who's 973?